The static hummed, a low, insistent thrum that burrowed deep into the skull. It wasn't the familiar hiss of a dead channel, but something richer, denser, like a forgotten language trying to break through. Sarah adjusted the rabbit ears on the ancient zenith, its fake wood veneer chipped at the corners. Dust motes danced in the single shaft of moonlight piercing the living room window, illuminating the faded floral pattern of the couch where she sat. Her brother, Michael, hunched over the coaxial cable, his fingers stained with grease from his motorcycle. He swore under his breath. "Still nothing, huh?" Sarah asked, her voice a whisper in the cavernous silence of their grandmother's abandoned house. The air hung heavy, thick with the scent of mildew and forgotten dreams. "Just ghosts in the wires," Michael grumbled, tugging at the connection. Or maybe Grandma's TV finally gave up the ghost itself. A sudden burst of color erupted on the screen, banishing the static. A cartoon dinosaur, a vibrant green, filled the frame. Its smile stretched unnaturally wide, a fixed grin that didn't quite reach its eyes. Those eyes, large and unblinking, seemed to drift independently, one slightly higher than the other. "Hello, children. Welcome to Eden Valley Nature Preserve, where the past comes alive," the dinosaur chirped, its voice a saccharine echo from a bygone era. The word alive distorted, stretching into a guttural growl before snapping back to the cartoon's cheerful cadence. Sarah shivered. A churn scrolled beneath the dinosaur. "Eden Valley has always been safe." The message flashed, then the screen went black. Michael dropped the cable. "What in the hell was that?" "Some old PSA, maybe?" Sarah offered, though her stomach churned. The dinosaur's eyes, the way they moved, felt wrong, unsettling. Grandma used to collect all sorts of weird tapes. Yeah, but that wasn't just old. That was broken. Michael picked up the remote, flipping through channels. Nothing but snow. "And what's Eden Valley?" "Never heard of it." "It was a dinosaur park," Sarah explained, recalling a fleeting mention in a local history book. "Shut down years ago. Way before we were born." "Shut down, sure," Michael scoffed, his skepticism a familiar shield. "But the papers said it closed in '89. Remember that old conspiracy theory about the government buying up all the land around it? Pets going missing, weird noises at night." Sarah nodded, a cold dread seeping into her bones. "They said it was a virus, a disease that wiped out the animals." "Or maybe," Michael murmured, his gaze fixed on the blank screen, "the animals just learned to hide." The next night, the static returned. This time, it pulsed with a faint, rhythmic beat like a distant heart. Michael had rigged up a VCR, hoping to record whatever bizarre broadcast might appear. He felt a strange pull to it, a morbid curiosity that mirrored Sarah's growing unease. The screen flickered. A dusty classroom materialized, rows of empty desks stretching into the gloom. No dust. Not a speck. It was too clean, too sterile for a place long abandoned. A cheerful narrator's voice filled the room, describing the ancient world. "Meet the hadrosaur," a title card proclaimed. A cartoon hadrosaur, similar in style to the dinosaur from the previous night, appeared on screen. Hadrosaurs communicated through low-frequency calls, the narrator explained, his voice bright and clear. As he spoke, the pitch of his voice deepened, taking on a resonant quality that seemed to vibrate through the floorboards. Beneath it, barely perceptible at first, a new sound began to layer itself, a chorus of whispers, like dry leaves rustling in a gale. We remember the warm rooms. The hadrosaur illustration turned its head, slowly, deliberately, its vacant eyes swiveling to face the viewer. They named us. The film strip image seized, freezing the hadrosaur in its unnatural turn. The VCR word, clicking forward, then back, then forward again, each click advancing the same frame. 12 times the hadrosaur remained frozen, its gaze fixed and unsettling. On the 13th click, it was closer, its snout almost touching the edge of the frame, its eyes wide and knowing. Sarah gasped, recoiling from the screen. "Turn it off, Michael. Turn it off." He fumbled with the remote, his hands trembling. The image held, the hadrosaur's unblinking stare burning into their minds. Finally, the screen went dark, plunging them back into the oppressive silence. "That wasn't a film strip," Michael breathed, his voice hoarse. That was a projection. It was looking at us, Sarah whispered, pulling her knees to her chest. It knew we were watching. The following days were a blur of nervous energy. Michael, usually restless and prone to outdoor adventures, stayed glued to the house, tinkering with the old television, trying to find a pattern, a source. Sarah, meanwhile, scoured ancient newspaper archives and dusty local history books, searching for any mention of Eden Valley. What she found only deepened the mystery. Incident reports, heavily redacted, hinted at strange occurrences even before the park's official closure. One afternoon, Michael found it. Channel 8, a frequency that had always been dead air. It pulsed with a faint, greenish hue. He called Sarah over, his voice tight with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Look at this," he said, pointing a trembling finger at the screen. The image was grainy, shot in night vision. A dense forest, bathed in an eerie green glow. Something massive moved between the trees, a hulking silhouette that defied easy identification. It moved with a ponderous, almost deliberate grace, its form indistinct against the foliage. Then it stopped. It turned, and for a split second, its eyes, like twin coals in the darkness, seemed to bore directly into the camera. Subtitles appeared, stark white against the green. "Come back. The park is still open." Sarah's breath hitched. "Who put those there?" "That's the thing," Michael said, his eyes wide. "They're not part of the original broadcast. It's like someone's adding them live." The creature in the night vision footage took another step, its massive head dipping as if sniffing the air. A low, resonant rumble echoed from the speakers, a sound that seemed to shake the very foundations of the old house. It wasn't a roar, not exactly, but a deep, mournful vocalization that seemed to carry an intelligence, a plea. "It's calling to something," Sarah murmured, her gaze fixed on the screen. "Or someone. You think they're still out there?" Michael asked, his voice barely a whisper. The next transmission arrived unannounced, overriding the static on Channel 13. This time, it was a faded videotape, the kind found in the forgotten corners of old offices. The label, barely legible, read, "Safety orientation, staff only." The footage showed a desolate, overgrown enclosure. A chain-link fence, rusted and sagging, stretched across the frame. Inside, two velociraptors paced with restless energy, their heads darting, their clawed feet kicking up dust. The camera shook intermittently, as if the person holding it was nervous, or perhaps listening intently to something beyond the frame. A man's voice, strained and high-pitched, narrated the footage. "These are the parks. More agile specimens. Maintain a safe distance at all times. Do not make eye contact." He paused, a ragged breath catching in his throat. A faint, almost imperceptible sound, like a dry cough, emanated from off-screen. One of the raptors stopped its pacing. It tilted its head, its reptilian eyes, black and unblinking, fixed on a point just beyond the camera's view. Its mouth, a narrow slit filled with needle-sharp teeth, slowly opened. A voice emerged from its maw. It was distorted, crackling, but undeniably human. "You left the lights on." The narrator on the tape began to sob, a choked, guttural sound that quickly escalated into full-blown hysterics. The raptor's mouth remained open, the chilling words hanging in the air. The screen dissolved into static. Sarah felt a wave of nausea wash over her. "That wasn't a recording," she stammered, covering her mouth. "That was a memory, playing through it." "The animals learned," Michael said, his face pale. He finally understood the chilling implications of that old newspaper article. They didn't just survive. They learned. "Learned what?" Sarah asked, her voice barely audible. "To mimic," Michael replied, his gaze distant. "To understand. To broadcast." The broadcasts intensified, becoming more frequent, more invasive. They no longer had to search for them. The channels simply switched, demanding their attention. One night, the Zenith displayed security footage. Grainy, black and white, stamped with a timestamp that read 11:38 p.m. The scene was the visitor center of Eden Valley, a crumbling structure reclaimed by vines. Every night, at precisely 11:38 p.m., shadowy figures converged. Not just one or two, but dozens, perhaps hundreds. They were dinosaurs, their forms indistinct in the low-resolution footage, but their immense sizes unmistakable. They gathered near the building, their ancient eyes, or what appeared to be eyes, fixed on the entrance. They waited, patiently, silently. A final overlay appeared on the footage, glowing with an internal light. Broadcast signal required then a new sound. A scraping, rhythmic and deliberate, emanating from inside the visitor center. It sounded like something attempting to claw its way out, or perhaps in. The footage cut out, leaving only the persistent, low hum of the television. "They're waiting for a signal," Sarah whispered, piecing together the fragments. "They want to be seen, to be heard. And they know we're watching," Michael added, his voice grim. "They're broadcasting to us. Directly." He stood, pacing the small living room. Grandma's house. "It's close to Eden Valley, isn't it? Just a few miles." Sarah's blood ran cold. Too close. The next night, an emergency alert system warning flashed across the screen, overriding whatever faint signal Michael had managed to pull in. The text was stark, crimson against a blinding white background. "Do not look at them through glass. Do not acknowledge recognition." They remember the roles they were given. The alert repeated, each iteration burning itself deeper into the phosphor of the screen, until the image began to blur, to ghost, to melt. Behind the text, a massive silhouette filled the frame, too close, too immense to be anything but the largest of the creatures. It was indistinct, a formless shadow, yet its presence was overwhelming, crushing. The air in the room grew heavy, thick with an unseen pressure. "They know," Sarah choked out, tears stinging her eyes. "They know we've been watching." Michael stood frozen, his eyes wide with a terror that transcended the screen. The silhouette seemed to press against the glass, an impossible, suffocating presence. He felt its hunger, its ancient, patient desire. "We have to go," he said, his voice a ragged whisper. "We have to get out of here. Now." They stumbled out of the house, the emergency alert still echoing in their minds. The night air was cool, but a strange warmth seemed to emanate from the direction of Eden Valley. They reached Michael's battered motorcycle, its chrome gleaming dully under the sliver of moon. He fumbled with the keys, his hands shaking so violently he almost dropped them. "Wait," Sarah said, her voice barely audible. She turned back to the house, to the window where the television still glowed with a faint, internal light. A new broadcast had begun. The familiar cartoon dinosaur from the very first transmission reappeared. Its smile, once unnaturally wide, was now perfect, symmetrical, almost serene. Its eyes, previously misaligned, now blinked in perfect unison, radiating a calm, knowing intelligence. "Thank you for watching," the dinosaur said, its voice clear and resonant, devoid of any distortion. It was no longer a recording, but a direct address. "Please stay tuned." The words hung in the air, a chilling invitation. Sarah felt a magnetic pull, a perverse desire to return to the flickering screen, to understand what lay beyond the threshold of the known. "No," Michael said, his voice firm, pulling her away. "No more." He kicked the motorcycle to life, the engine roaring to life, a desperate attempt to drown out the voice of the cartoon dinosaur, the whispers that seemed to claw at the edges of their sanity. They sped down the winding, unlit road, away from the old house, away from Eden Valley. But the broadcasts followed them. Not on the radio, not on their phones, but in their minds. The roar that had once been distant, patient, now seemed to echo directly within their skulls. It wasn't loud, but it was omnipresent, a primal thrum that vibrated through every cell of their bodies. They drove for hours, the moon a silent sentinel above them. The roar never faded. It was a constant companion, a chilling reminder of what they had witnessed, what they had awakened. Michael's eyes, red-rimmed and bloodshot, darted to the rear-view mirror. Nothing, just the dark, winding road. "Where are we going?" Sarah asked, her voice raw. "Anywhere," Michael replied, his grip on the handlebars white-knuckled. "As far as we can get." They pulled into a desolate gas station, its fluorescent lights buzzing with a sickly yellow glow. Michael fumbled for his wallet, his movements stiff and jerky. Sarah stepped out of the car, stretching her cramped limbs. The air felt heavy, charged with an unseen energy. A small television, mounted high in the corner of the gas station's convenience store, flickered to life. It displayed static, then a park map. The familiar outline of Eden Valley, its boundaries now seemingly expanded, bled into the surrounding counties. A red that blinked on the map, pulsing with an eerie light. It was their town, their home. Text faded in, slow and deliberate, a silent scream across the screen. Eden Valley expands. The roar that followed was not loud. It was patient. It was intimate. It was inside them. It knew their names. Sarah's breath hitched. She saw it then in the reflection of the gas station window. A flicker of green, a hint of an unblinking eye, just at the edge of the tree line beyond the parking lot. A shadow, too large, too still, to be merely a tree. Michael turned, his eyes following her gaze. He saw it too. The silence of the night was broken only by the incessant hum of the gas station lights and the roar that now resonated not from a television, but from the very air around them, from deep within the earth. It wasn't a roar of aggression, but one of recognition, of welcome. "They're here," Sarah whispered, her voice devoid of emotion, a hollow echo in the vast emptiness. The shadow detached itself from the tree line. It moved with a slow, deliberate grace, its form becoming clearer with each step. A Tyrannosaurus, not the muted colors of a museum exhibit, but a vibrant, almost iridescent green. Its skin shimmered, reflecting the sickly yellow light of the gas station. Its head, massive and ancient, swiveled, its eyes, twin pools of bottomless black, fixing on them. It was no longer a beast of instinct. It was an entity of profound, terrifying intelligence. The creature's mouth opened, not in a roar, but in a slow, deliberate movement that revealed rows of serrated teeth. A sound emerged, a low, guttural vibration that seemed to bypass their ears and settle directly in their chests. It was a sound that was both ancient and new, a synthesized echo of human speech, laced with the primordial rumble of a predator. "Welcome home," it rumbled, its voice a symphony of dread. Michael stumbled back, tripping over a discarded oil can. Sarah stood frozen, her eyes locked with the dinosaurs. She could feel its presence, its immense power, its chilling understanding. It wasn't just a physical threat, it was a psychological assault, a dismantling of everything they thought they knew. The dinosaur took another step, its massive footfalls shaking the ground. The air filled with a cloying scent, a mix of damp earth, primeval musk, and something else, something metallic and sweet, like old blood. You watched, the creature rumbled, its gaze unwavering. You listened. You broadcast. It was a statement, not a question. It understood the feedback loop, the connection they had forged through the flickering screen. They had become part of its audience, its signal. Michael scrambled to his feet, pulling Sarah behind him. "Run, Sarah. Now." He fumbled for the motorcycle keys again, his fingers numb. The dinosaur was closer now, its immense shadow eclipsing the gas station. The ground vibrated with its presence. "There is no running," the creature intoned, its voice a low, resonant wave that washed over them. "Only tuning in." Its head dipped, and a strange, almost gentle sound emanated from its throat, a purr that was utterly terrifying in its context. It was recognizing them, acknowledging them. Sarah felt a strange calm settle over her, a surrender to the inevitable. The world had shifted. The boundaries between broadcast and reality had dissolved. Eden Valley was no longer a place on a map. It was a state of being, a consciousness that had spread like a virus. "What do you want?" Sarah asked, her voice surprisingly steady, a whisper against the growing roar. The dinosaur tilted its head, its eyes seeming to gleam with a dark amusement. "To be seen, to be heard, to expand." Its massive jaws opened wider, revealing a cavernous maw. But there was no lunge, no attack. Instead, a faint, greenish light pulsed from deep within its throat, a light that seemed to draw them in, to beckon them. "The signal," the creature rumbled. its voice now layered with countless other whispers, the voices of the hadrosaurs, the raptors, the unseen entities from the night vision footage. It requires a source. Michael grabbed Sarah's arm, pulling her towards the motorcycle. We are not going to be its source. He kicked the engine again, a desperate, futile attempt. The dinosaur took another slow, deliberate step, its immense form filling their vision. The air crackled with a palpable energy, a silent scream of power. You are already tuned in, the creature stated, its voice resonating directly inside their minds. The broadcast has begun. The green light from its throat intensified, bathing them in an ethereal glow. Sarah felt a strange sensation, a pulling, a dissolving of her own consciousness. The roar was no longer outside. It was inside, part of her. She could feel the vastness of Eden Valley, the ancient intelligence that had learned to manipulate the very fabric of reality. The dinosaurs' eyes, so intelligent, so knowing, seemed to widen, reflecting their terror, their surrender. Its presence was not one of simple hunger, but of a profound alien connection. It desired not just their bodies, but their minds, their broadcast. Michael screamed, a raw, primal sound of pure terror, as the green light enveloped them completely. Their forms shimmered, losing definition, becoming translucent. The roar intensified, a crescendo that filled the universe. And then, abruptly, it ceased. The gas station was silent. The television inside the convenience store flickered, displaying only static. The red dot on the park map, marking their town, continued to blink, a silent testament to the expansion. The only sound left was the low, persistent hum of the gas station lights and the distant, patient roar that now knew everyone's name. The broadcast had gone global.